Hi everyone, in this video we are going to explain to you as Kamenaki Sakai, no Kamisama Katsuru, year 2023. They wanted a world without God, but eventually reincarnated with the power to invoke the strongest God. Yukito always wanted to enjoy a relaxed and normal life, but there was a problem. His father, a maniac who founded a new religion, preaching for their goddess Mitama, and made his son's life a living misery to the point that they forced him into a ritual that would make him the next cult leader. With all these random men as followers of worship, they carried Yukito, who was locked in a barrel, pretending to throw him into the sea. The goal is for him to survive underwater for 3 days, to overcome death. Of course, Yukito begged for his life, knowing that this was his end. But his father is not discouraged and believes that this ritual will save him. The old man complains about how their goddess is omnipotent, omniscient, and invincible. With the utmost conviction, he tells his son that their goddess will surely save him, and without any trace of sanity, he throws Yukito off the cliff, and he falls into the water. His mind begins to give him flashback memories as he falls deeper into the water. He remembers when he tried to be a normal kid, playing with animals and walking around with friends, to be disturbed and taken away by the cult followers. The cult destroyed his life. They forced him to endure loneliness because no one wanted to be near him at school. They tried to kill him literally, burning him almost alive and being violently beaten by his father, forcing him to take the strength of a stunt. In short, he was never supposed to enjoy luck and peace in this life, and so, as he slowly begins to lose consciousness, he makes his last wish. If their goddess Mitama really exists, he wants her to let him be reborn in a world without a god or religion. Fortunately, Yukito wakes up after being rescued by a girl named in the Urals. She promises to take care of him until he fully recovers and mentions that she works at the village restaurant. He doesn't understand at first, but after looking around, he realizes that he is in a different world. His dream of reincarnating in another world came true. He immediately asks for normal things like, "Where is the Adventurers Guild?" She does not understand it well, but after an explanation, a clear idea is formed. He wants a job. He follows her all excited, thinking of using a sword and magic. But he eventually found a job as a farmer. He's going crazy. It's a boring quest. And to make matters worse, there is an asshole who, without introducing himself, claims that all the women in the village are his. Another guy with the main character syndrome. Fortunately, Plain stops the child at random and gives Yukito a dagger, and the obvious reaction is to ask where are the level 1 goblins. But of course, this does not happen. His task is to harvest the grapes, but they end up harvesting too much and don't know what to do. So Yukito decides to make wine, something he didn't know how to do. Everyone immediately becomes friendly to him, and he keeps repeating what he thinks are his quests as a novice farmer. He eventually befriends the villagers and lives with her Rosalind and her older sister, Cyril. One day, while cultivating, Yukito sees a villager running and screaming for everyone to run. The next comes a huge animated beast that turns its attention to him, and King tells him to relax and leave everything to him. While pulling out a book, he opens it and begins to pull out a kind of black magic spell. Yukito is fascinated. For the first time, he is about to watch magic, but the king spell is called. Yukito, run for your life. They manage to outrun the beast and king, and proud to barely survive. But Yukito is crazy. They didn't even fight for him. Running is a disgrace. He pulls King by the collar and asks why he didn't retaliate. But Royan is like, because we can't beat him. Yukito goes even crazier and asks why he was even reading a book. Well, the book contains strategies on how to distance different types of monsters. After returning to the restaurant and having his wounds treated by Halloran, Yukito finally realizes that there is no magic in this world. Although he is not the type of reincarnation life he dreamed of, he still thinks it's not so bad. At least he can get drunk at the end of the day and watch King vomit Halloran rainbows alone, commands that everyone has become more joyful after his arrival, and timidly asks him to stay there forever. And since this world has no demon lord, he begins to conform and accepts his new life. He mentions that he should thank God for sending him there, but notes that no one knows anything about God or spirituality. During the hunt, Royan approaches him to tell him about the forbidden book, something that it is even forbidden to talk about. He immediately thinks it's his chance. This will lead him to the mysteries of this new world. He asks what this book is about, only to discover that it is a normal book about intimacy between couples accompanied by King and Ural. Yukito heads to the imperial capital. King points to the palace and tells Yukito to avoid talking to. Someone from Yukito town doesn't understand why. And Royan explains that the people in their village are hated by the people in the city. They arrive at the bookstore and find the book they were so desperately looking for. Yukito becomes curious, thinking what an otherworldly book that is not suitable for work would look like. Everyone is panicking, thinking how nasty it looks. But Yukito thinks it's a normal book alone, and the only one having fun because she's found a more advanced book than the one she currently has. When he returns, he discovers a concentration of people. Yukito's curiosity gets the better of him and verifies him. He sees people on their knees and imperial guards behind them. On an order from the guards, people drink something and immediately collapse. He is shocked and does not understand what is happening, but Ahura grabs his hand and takes him away. He asks her what it was, and she stops. She explains that the country has a system that decides when to take someone's life. They panic once again because he doesn't understand what it is. They ask if this can be applied to them, but Royan intervenes, explaining that this is not the case because their village is special and treated differently. The two guys walk away while Ahural falls behind after noticing that his sister and name are on the next target list. At night, Yukito tries to sleep meanwhile. Ahural suddenly sneaks into bed. He doesn't understand what's going on, but that's what she just read in her new book and wants to put it into practice. She apologizes after tying him up and coming to her senses and revealing that she was sent to the village because of her personality. She reveals that the village is nothing more than an isolation camp where outcasts are sent. She exposes her shoulder and reveals a mark scar. It reveals that all those who fear death or do not follow the country's ways are marked and banished to an isolation camp. But she feels happy that Yukito is different from the others. He has no mark, but does not look at them with disgust. He helps them and teaches them new things. He's the first outsider who treats everyone as comrades and family. Yukito reveals that they also share a similar past in his past life. Not everyone liked him because of the cult, but this time he finally managed to make his first friends. Herales then notices his necklace and comments that he is pretty. It was the only thing he bought in this world. He remembers his father telling him it worked as a protective charm. He decides to give it to her, and she goes back to bed before looking at him and thinking she was happy to meet him. The next day, Yukito wakes up, but finds the restaurant unusually empty. He can't see Harural or Serene anywhere. He thinks they closed it for the day and checked outside. There, he sees Royan lying on the ground after being beaten en masse. He checks his friend right away and asks what happened. Royan reveals that the sisters were taken and explains in depth the imperial system. Normal people are responsible for responding to their hunger and they comply with it. But people in their village are not invited to do so. Their lives are taken by force, and today was the sisters' day to meet their end. He apologizes to Yukito, but our boy doesn't hold up. Accompanied by planes, he rushes to the capital where she will go. She can't believe she just witnessed her sister's last breath. The guard pushes her down and prepares to finish her off with his sword. But Yukito arrives in style in his first real adventure. He hit 2 soldiers, one after the other, even piercing an iron helmet. All the guards in the area surround him. But he is not afraid. He looks at the lifeless catfish and asks why they are doing this to them. And the captain of the Imperial Guard comes to say that it is because they are afraid of dying, something he shouldn't, because it will happen sooner or later. And without any reaction, the captain pulls out his sword and stabs Harurali. He drops and looks at Harural, who shouts his name, but the captain hits him at once. Barely able to survive, he crawls to the breathless side of the Hurl, asking why. Why did this happen? He sees the necklace he gave her, and his father's words come to mind. May their god, Mitama, surely save him with his last hope. He grabs the collar and asks Mitama to save the sisters. For the first time in his life, he begins to sing the same words that his father used to pray for their god. And at this moment, the jewel of the necklace springs into the air, creating lightning strikes. The sky opened, and a massive ball that looked like the sun appeared, brightening the sky. And from there, a lowly girl descended to earth and immediately jumped on Yukito, hugging him happily. He finally called her and accepted her. But Yukito wasn't breathing. She finally understood, and in a split second, Pretty Lowly became a nightmare. She used all her power to create root-shaped arms that dragged her guard into the abyss, and at the same time revived Yukito and the two sisters. She jumps on his shoulders, showing her affection, but Yukito doesn't understand who she is. It is then that she introduces herself as Mitama, her goddess. We have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.